All right, guys, Joe Rosen here, and today I'm going to bring you my top 50. I'm super excited because I love these videos. So I invite you, as I show you mine, to please think about showing me yours. I'd love to see it. Share mine, I'll share yours. I just think it's fun. I've only seen a handful of really good top 50 collections out there, and to watch those videos, for me personally, is pretty doggone exciting. So hopefully you find a little bit of excitement in my top 50. I will tell you from watching these, it's fun to look at a card for about 30 to 45 seconds and then you want to move on. So I'm going to try to keep at that pace, and we're going to start it off with this 1911 T205 Go Borders set, Ed Walsh. Now, Ed Walsh is one of my favorite players to collect because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, he is the ERA record holder for lifetime ERA. So that's a pretty impressive statistic to hold, especially for this long. It's been, what, 110 years since this card was put out, so it's pretty crazy to see that he's still got that record. The centering is pushed a little bit to the right, about 70-30. I do like centered cards, but you can see if you get up close here, all the color, the detail, the fun little decals on the bottom and everything. It's pretty doggone cool. And then on the back, you can see that this was in a pack of Hassan's cigarettes. So just an awesome card. You can see if you look really close, let's keep this straight. You can see it's got a little bit of that staining. See, like up here, you can see a little bit of the brown staining from the actual tobacco, which is pretty cool. So I like that. So that is number 50. Let's get up to number 49 now. We're gonna move over to probably the most collectible set in all of baseball card collecting, the T206 set. This set ranges from 1909 to 1911, depending upon which back you've got. That's kind of what dictates which year they came out. This particular card is the Sweet Caporal back. We'll look at that in a second. But Addy Joss, again, is just a really cool player with a really cool story. Well, let me back it up a little bit. You're supposed to have 10 years in to be able to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. Addy Joss, from memory, only had 9 in. He had come down with, I don't remember if it was meningitis or what it was, but he had something that pushed his career short, got really sick, and he was a beloved player in the league. So to help the guy out, all of the star players came together and they threw a big baseball game and they raised funds, and they took all those funds, gave them to his wife to help with burial costs and everything else, because these guys didn't make the money back then that they make now. So it's kind of cool that they'd all come together for her. And that game was the first ever All-Star game. So it's pretty cool. I really like this card. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. And to my knowledge, again, guys, please correct me in the comments if I'm telling you anything that's incorrect. But he was the first one, maybe the only one, to get into the Hall of Fame with less than 10 years as a player. So really cool. Again, you can see a lot of the brown staining from the tobacco there, which I think is super cool. So that's number 49. Let's get up to number 48 here. We're sticking with the same set, and you're gonna see I'm a big T206 collector, so you'll see a lot of the T206s. This is, again, I keep saying this now, it's gonna get old pretty soon. Nap Lashway is one of my favorite players to collect. He's just got a really cool story. He was with another team, and to try to get him over to Cleveland, they said, hey, we'll name him the Cleveland Naps. Would you come? He did end up coming, and for a while there, they were named the Naps. Now, Cleveland did go through a name change recently, and the Naps, for people who knew baseball history, that was one of the biggest, I don't know what you would call it, name selections, I guess, that was available that people had supported. So I personally was a little disappointed that they didn't get it, but I've got 5 Nap Lashways in my collection, and I think they're all in the top 50. This is, well, I guess I'm not really pitching my cards very well, but this is the worst of the 5. So we've got 4 others coming that in my opinion are better. So here's number 47. Now a lot of you guys are gonna say, okay, how are you putting these in order, Joe? Literally by how much I like them. Has nothing to do with value. I would say value is probably correlational, but really it's just how much do I like that card, and in what order would I let them go in, with number 1 being, hey, I'll never let it go, number 50 being the one I'd let go the most, right? So here we got Frank Chance, one of the 3 famous Cubs from the 1908 season when they won the World Series, and then they had that famous long drought. And it was Tinker, Evers, and Chance that were the 3 big Cubs. There was a poem written about them that, in my opinion, probably was the thing that made them the most famous. And all three were Hall of Famers, and this is one of them. What I like about these cards, I've really become recently a big candy card. I was just showing you some tobacco cards. I've become a candy card fan. I think in my top 50, I've only got 5 candy cards. I've got a few more outside of my top 50, but this one, I way overpaid for it. If you go look on eBay, you'll be able to prove that. But the bright orange, the vivid orange, and the great pose, and the fact that from memory, this has got double digits population. There's not a lot of cards out there in these candy sets. So it's really cool to be able to get one. And just like I said, that color is just so vivid. Everybody's got the T206s. And when I say everybody, I mean a lot of the collectors that I'm hanging out with, but not a lot of people have these candy cards. So again, there it is, coming at number 47. Moving on to 46, oh, we've got another one of those 3 famous Cubs from 1908, Mr. Johnny Evers. So again, going back to the T206 set, this is a Piedmont 150, right? So that means, if I understand this correctly, there were 150 players that were presented in this year's set. So this was from 1909. And if I remember correctly, let me go back and look at these. Yeah, the 150s are from 1909. The 350s are from 1910, and I think it's a 450, it's a 4 something, are from 1911. Again, please, anybody, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that is, that's what I recall. Now this is a cool card. I really like the color. I like the registration. It really pops. It's really a vivid card. You can see a little staining down by his name, in between his name and Chicago. You can obviously see those 2 big creases, one right here, and another just like a hairline that kind of comes out right there. Rounded corners, but again, that's why it's a PSA 2, right? I do collect a lot of lower grade cards. For me, it's just fun to have the card. And as long as it presents well, it's got good color, it's got good registration, and there's not a big old, crease right in the middle of his face. For me, that's a pretty cool card to collect. 549876, this is 45. I always forget what we're on. I guarantee I'm going to do it. Now, this is a very highly collectible card. If you are in the ever-coveted Tobacco Row group on Facebook, I'm just looking at another card. It's 460. Is that right? 460 subjects on 1911? I think that's what it is. But anyway, if you're in Tobacco Row on Facebook, you know a guy named Joe Rand, and Joe Rand has every doggone Rube Waddell card there is. So if you get one, it's like a national treasure because the guy literally hunts them out. So I'm pretty excited to have this one. Again, the centering is just phenomenal on this, which for me, centering is a big deal. You can see that the blue has not faded at all. It's a really deep, dark blue. Yes, it's got a crease going left to right, but it is above his head, so it really doesn't take away that much from the presentability of this particular card. Is presentability a word? The presentation? I used to be in the Army, so you got to give me a break here, all right? All right, so that is 45. Let's move on to 44. Here we got another T206 card. Guys, we will get out of T206 world, I promise you. But here we go, T206. This was one of the big players for the Yankees back then, called the Highlanders, who was really the all-star player of the day back then, right? Willie Keeler. And he's got, I think it's 2 or 3 different cards in this T206 set. And I just think that his portrait, the portraits in T206 are some of the most collectible cards. This one, for me, was just a beauty. It was a friend of mine who had sold it to me, and I just think it's a gorgeous card. Great registration, great color. You're going to hear me say that a lot. The white borders are very white on this one. I don't see a lot of major staining. It's just got weak corners, right? And the centering is probably, I don't know, 65-35. That's a beautiful card. I really don't care about the backs all that much. Some people want to see their back centered. This back is definitely not centered. It's a little fatter on that left side, but there's a Piedmont. Piedmont and Sweet Capital being the 2 most common that you're going to see. So here we go to number, I don't know, probably 43. I don't remember. It's Mordecai Brown. This is another one of the big Cubs from 1908. and he was a pitcher, right? They call him Three Finger Brown. If I remember correctly, I think he lost 2 fingers in a farming accident. And they claim that having 3 fingers versus 5 actually made him get a little bit more whip on the ball, and that's what made him a good pitcher. Do I know if that's true? Hell no, I don't know if it's true, but it's a pretty cool story, so why not share it? Again, I told you earlier, the T205 set with those gold borders are very tough to collect and get it without the chipping. You can see in the top left corner and along the top edge, I've got some chipping there, but that vivid red just pops on this card. It's such a beautiful card. Great artistry. Centering is smoking. And then there's the back. It's really a nice, clean back. Sweet Capital cigarettes. Again, you can see that, but really cool. And again, that's from 1911. So it's just amazing to see how these cards have made it through the years. Coming up to, I don't know, roughly 42. I do this every time I do one of these videos. We've got Hugh Duffy. Beautiful card. I love the colors on it. I love the white and the blue of his jersey and how it pops with that green grass and that yellowy orange background. Then you got the white borders that really pop. This is a high grade in my collection. I think my top 50 average a 2.75 grade. So a 5 is very high for my top 50. This is a really pretty card. This is a really nice T206. So you can see if I get a little bit closer, the artwork on here is just stunning. The detail. See the lines running up and down along the seam of his sweater, his hat. It's just beautiful, beautiful work they did. From memory, I want to say there's 524 of these in the set, right? Different, not just players, but also like some players have different poses. Like there's 4 Ty Cobbs, right? But there are 4 in particular that are so expensive that most people consider this set to be 520 cards. So here is Mordecai Brown again. We looked at him a little bit earlier in the T205 set. Here we've got him in the T206 set. And it's one of my favorite backs because I remember before I understood how rare the different backs were, I just thought this back looked the coolest, man, because it's got the most, well, you'll see. You'll see. Why even talk about it? Let's just show you. There's the back, right? Look at all that color. So cool. And because all that color, you'll see with a lot of these, and I don't know if I have it on this one. Maybe see it a little bit along the top there. But you'll see it'll almost look like there's fire behind it and like a bronze, like burn almost will come through. And it's from this ink on the back. This card doesn't really have it, and I don't have any other polar bears in my top 50, so you're not going to be able to see it, but just a cool, cool back, man. Again, it's crazy to think, now I don't know when this one, if this is 1909, 1910, or 1911, but this card is roughly 110 years old, and to think that it looks like that with that detail is just absolutely astonishing. All right, coming up to the next one, here's another Rube Waddell that I had to hunt for and make sure Joe Rand didn't catch me on. But, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. I got smudge marks on my fingers there. This is probably the most bright white bordered T206 card I own. I thought it was just sharp. I honestly, and I'm looking at it right now to see if it's got creases. I see the top right corner has a little bit of a ding in it. You'll see it when we get closer, but the colors of the background, right? The green grass and then the purple, orange, yellow, blue of that background. And then he's got a maroon hat on. It's just really cool. You can see that top right corner's got a little bit of a ding in it, but look at the color on that, right? That's 110 years old. And then that back, that's a pretty nice back. This again is a 1909. And I'm pretty confident in that because it's the 150 subjects there at the top. So there we go. All right, moving on to the next one. Come on. Here we're going back to Candy Card World with a little Eddie Collins. Some people say he's the best second baseman ever. I think this is just one of the coolest looking cards. He's got that smirk on his face, that iconic early 1900s, late 1800s hat that they wore. When I look at that hat, I think of Eddie Plank, man. But I think it's so cool to see that. And this is a sharp too. Like, it's got pretty decent centering, maybe it's, I don't know, 65, 35, a little fatter on the right, but look at that green, look at that smile. It's just a really cool card. And then again on the back, you can see up towards the big word baseball and subjects. It looks like it's got a little bit of paper loss. Yeah, that's probably what's holding it. Well, this could be a 2 anyway. If I got really lucky, maybe it'd be a 3, but this looks like a 2. I see now by his arm, it's got a little crease there. So this is probably a pretty good 2, maybe a 2.5, but everybody thinks their cards are better than they are. So maybe it's a 2. Maybe it's a 2. All right, coming up to the next one, we're not only going to come into earlier cards, but we're also going to come into football. We got the 1976 Topps Walter Payton Sweetness, as we all know him, almost perfectly centered. And that's why I picked this one up. Just a great card. It's an iconic card. If you guys are, let's see, I'm 39, so I was born in 82. If you're probably 50, 60 years old, this is probably one of the most iconic cards from your childhood. Just an awesome, awesome card, one of the best running backs ever. And then on the back, you can see like what a crisp, beautiful card. Just a cool card, man. So there we go. One of, I think that might be the only football card in here. We'll see though. Okay. So I don't know if it's Span or Spawn. I always say Span. So Warren Span. No, I say Spawn. Warren Spawn. That's what I say. I have no clue though. But anyway, Warren Spawn. I think this card, when I look at these cards, these 1948 Leaf cards, I think of Andy Warhol, right? The way his paintings were and his art was, and it was just vivid and it hit you and it was memorable and it was simple. And that's what a lot of these Leaf cards are, man. I think this is just so cool. The centering is nowhere near perfect. It is definitely hidden up in that top right corner. So left to right is probably, I don't know, 70, 30, 75, 25, something like that. And the top to the bottom is, if I'm lucky, 60, 40, probably closer to 65, 35. But you can't really see it here. I picked this card because of the registration, because of the vividness, the boldness, the bright orange color. I think it's one of the prettiest cards there are. But if you look close, you can see right down here, there's a little, it's like a wrinkle. You don't see it on the back. There's another one, another one, another one. I purchased this one off of eBay, and you couldn't see it in the photos. And then I got it, and I was a little miffed about it, but I ended up keeping it. So there it is. Beautiful, beautiful card from 1948. Even those cards, I say it's a newer card. 52, 62, 72, 73 years old. That's crazy. So here's a 1953 Jackie Robinson. This is only a 1.5, which is why I got it. The centering left to right, it's a little fatter on the left side, probably a 60-40. But that centering is what pushed me to get it. You'll see with a lot of these cards in the 50s, they've got that snow, right? Look on the left side of his face, especially above his eyebrow, right over here on his lips. You can see those white dots. That snow really kind of drives me away. But this one, honestly, for a 1.5, was just smoking. It's an iconic card. It's one of the funnest players to collect. And so I had to pick it up. There's no way I'm paying for a 4, 5, 6 of this card. So when I saw this one in as good a condition as it is as a 1.5, I had to pick it up. It's just a cool, cool card. I like too that it's the first one in the set, right? A lot of times those are a little bit harder to get, especially in higher condition, just because kids back in the day would put these in order, right? With number 1 on the top and number whatever, you know, the last card in the set was on the bottom. And then they put a rubber band around it and bring it over to Johnny's house. And so a lot of times that first and last card had a little bit more damage, which makes them a little bit more fun to collect if you can find a higher grade card. Okay, back to Eddie Collins. This is that green candy card I had earlier, same player. And this is amazing too. Amazing too. And he's got that little speck above his eye on the left side. Is really the biggest blemish I see, but honestly, for a 2, the registration on here is absolutely phenomenal. The centering is probably 60-40, left to right. The top to bottom is beautiful. Look at that card. every time I see that, I think that is the color champagne. I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's what I think. And then this one's got a rarer back. It's the Old Mill back. You'll see I've got a couple higher in my collection with that Old Mill back, but I really like it. It's just, and of course it's because I've seen these cards so many times. You see what's rare, you see what's not rare, and it's funny how you just start to become more attracted to the ones that are rare. Going back to the 1953 top set, this is the same set we just showed you with that 1953 Jackie Robinson. This is another one of the biggest black stars back in the day. I don't remember what the age was. I bet it says on the back. When he came into the league, because he was in the Negro Leagues for so long, he was old, man. 42 mark as a starter. Shut on. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about how old he was, but the dude was old. And, well, here it says born 1908. So 1908 to 53, that's 43 minus 2 is 41 years old. 41 years old. I think I remember seeing a stat that said he pitched, I don't know if he started, I think he started a game when he was 58 years old. Just some ridiculous number, but a crazy good pitcher, especially knowing that he didn't start until he was 40-some years old. That's crazy. So here's Stan the Man Musial from 1948. You saw the 1948 Leaf set with Warren Spahn and how bright and vivid and bold and eye-catching that is. And then its companion Bowman of the same year is just the most boring set, but I think it's got some really stoic shots in it, and I think this Stan Musial is the most stoic. I think it's really a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card. It just shows how badass he is, man. Maybe I'm making that up, but that's what I think of when I look at this. The centering is horrible, but when I saw it pop up, and I'd wanted it for a while, the top to bottom centering is perfect. It looks like it's 50-50. It's at left to right, that's about 85-15. And didn't like it, but I thought, man, it's a 2, and other than that, it's a pretty doggone good looking 2. So let's get it. I pulled the trigger and we got it. So that's a good looking card there from 1948. Pretty doggone cool, man. Okay, here is one of my favorite cards to collect. I remember as a kid, now it's from Minnesota. So one of the cards that I went after was the 1985 Topps Kirby Puckett card. That was like the card I wanted. And then I remember saving up, getting $20 to go buy it. I purchased it. And honestly, the card's probably still worth $20. I do have one in my collection. I think I paid like $20, $30 for it. So horrible, horrible ROI had I saved it on that particular investment. Another big card that I wanted back when I was a kid was the 89 Upper Deck Griffey, which I never did get. Bought boxes and boxes and boxes of Upper Deck back then. Never did get it. I remember my grandma, my mom, bought some 89 Upper Deck for me as a kid and never pulled the card, so I was a little bummed about that. But I do have the card now in a PSA 9, and this was the third card that I really wanted as a kid, right? It was at Nolan Ryan rookie next to Jerry Kuzman, and I got this particular card pretty cheap because it was a PSA 2. But look at that centering left to right. This is a tough one to find centered left to right. Yeah, the corners are rounded, but I really don't care. It's got the nice bold color. This card really doesn't have any registration issues for the most part, but you can see in Nolan Ryan's face and in his cap, especially on the left side, it's got some snow, which is not common with this card to my knowledge. But again, for a PSA 2, whatever. The left to right centering here is like 90-10. That is pretty common for this card. You can see it's got a crease right up and down there. It's got 2 of them. It's actually got one over here too. But when I flip it around, do I see it? No, I don't see it. I think it's just on one side. But for a PSA 2, man, that's about as good as they come. I was pretty excited to get that one. So there we go. All right, moving up to the next one. Let's see, where are we at? This is 26, 7, 8, 9, 30. So this is 31. We're going back to the 1933 Gowdy set. You've got many Gowdy sets, but really the 2 big sets are 33 and 34. This 33 Gowdy set is famous for the 4 Babe Ruths. And then you've got this one, I would say is No, then you got the two Lou Gehrig's. Then this one is probably the next big one. From memory, there are two of these in this set, right? And I don't know if there's a difference, honestly, between the two. I think it says the same thing on the back. I think the front looks the same. I think one is just different number. This is completely from memory. It's probably wrong. This is number 154. I think that one is number 29, but I can't remember. I also think, but again, this is from memory, this is the rarer of the two. That probably literally makes it worth a little bit more, but in my opinion, I could care less. The left to right centering here is almost spot on. Top to bottom centering, it's a little fatter on the top, but on this card, it really does not take away at all. You've got that bright, vivid yellow, just a ton of wonderful color. I love this card, man. And I like too on the back, the little story of the player who's giving Babe Ruth a battle for the title of Home Run King. It's kind of a cool thing to have on the back of a card. So, yeah, pretty awesome. Moving up to, what is this, 30? We're going to go back to our first of two pre-1900 cards. We got the 1887 N172, or as most call it, Old Judge set. And we've got Hall of Famer Buck Ewing. Now, when you collect these cards with just about any other set, you're collecting, yes, for the card, but predominantly you're looking at the grade, right? You're going to buy a 3 over a 2 and a 6 over a 5, if all of the things are the same, right? With these Old Judge cards, and I didn't know this is the only one I've ever owned. That's not true. I did have a common once. This is the second one I've owned, first Hall of Famer. The darkness and registration is much more important than the grade. I wanted one so bad. I got one that, in my opinion, has pretty weak registration on it. You can see it if you look up close, but if you're looking far away, it kind of fades. I've shown people my top 50 in a picture before, and they always ask, what is this card? You can see at the bottom it says Ewing, New York's Old Judge Cigarette Factory, Goodwin and Company, New York. And then I'm guessing this is like a little tape mark down here. And there's the rest of the tape, and that's it. That's the back. It's a pretty boring back, but kind of a cool card just because the Old Judge set is such a well-known set amongst older card collectors. And it's pre-1900, which makes it kind of cool too. So moving up to number 29, we've got the only hockey card I think I own, which is Wayne Gretzky. Now, obviously the O-Pee-Chee set, which is, in my understanding, exactly the same. I'm not a hockey card collector, but it is worth more. Well, that was my point. It's worth a little bit more in O-Pee-Chee. I got the tops because, again, I'm not a big hockey card collector. I just thought, he's the best. Why not get the best? It was a good friend of mine in the business who sold me this card. And with this particular card, I always look for the blue on the left and the blue on the right to be roughly the same. And I tell you what, go look at 7s and 8s, and you won't find them as centered as this card. This is a great centered card of Wayne Gretzky's, and that's why I got it. When I got it, it was probably 20-30% of the price it's worth now, which is kind of ridiculous. Maybe not 20-30%, maybe 40%, but just a cool card to have. All right, 26-7, 28 is one of the most beloved Yankees ever, Mr. Yogi Bera, the man of many quotes. And what really attracted me to this one was the almost perfect centering. I don't know that it's not perfect, to be honest. It looks just perfect. So I had to get it. It's got rounded edges. That is about it. Otherwise, it is a beautiful, beautiful card of Mr. Yogi Bera. He's got some really cool cards. I really like his, I want to say it's 50 Bowman also, where he's in all the catcher gear. It just looks kind of cool. But anyway, there is, oh, and you can see the PWCC. I've got a couple of these, so obviously I can joke about it all day long, but I'm buying into the PWCC added qualifiers, so I can't tease it too much. Okay, here's number 27, one of my favorite cards in the T206 set. I think it's just beautiful, right? It's got that mint green color to it. Again, it's Ed Walsh. one of my favorite players to collect just because he's got that amazing record ERA over the lifetime. And you've got that big Chicago going across his chest. The blue on top of the green is just mwah! Now it looks good from here, right? Perfectly centered, great card, lots of color, great registration. If you get it up close, you can see right underneath his lip, going left to right, there's a pretty good crease. But you don't see it unless you get really close. But this is why I really got it. It's got a sovereign back to it, which is a little bit rarer. And I have no clue what that big hunk of green is in the middle. But I've grown to love it. I've seen 3s, 4s, and 5s that look on the front better than this card. And I've considered getting them, but I just cannot get rid of that guy right there. You start to learn to love the little blemishes in your cards, you know? Okay, so here's number 26. This is probably the one card in my collection that I kind of want to sell or trade. It's pretty good centering left to right. It does have some little wrinkles down here in the left corner. Maybe there's a couple more. But these little stains, I don't like them. That's what I don't like. It is a pretty beautiful 2.5. It's got a lot of cool color. It's an iconic card. This set also has the Pee Wee Reese rookie. It's got that beautiful Joe Dimaggio card. That's probably Joe Dimaggio's most collectible card, or his most desired. And there's the back. So there it is, number 26. So that's the first half of my top 50. Moving into number 25. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mickey Mantle. Just picked this one up about a week or two ago. I had a 2.5. Saw this one hit Facebook, and it wasn't even for sale. It was a guy who had a load of cards. There were Babe Ruths in there. From memory, it was like Ty Cobb's, Mickey Mantle rookies, Willie Mays rookies. This is probably the worst card out of about 30 or 40 in his photo. And I asked him, I said, hey, is that Mickey Mantle for sale? He said, yeah, sure. So we ended up, I sold that 2.5, paid him a little bit extra, and I got this one, which this one, the other one did not have good centering. This one is about 55-45, a little fatter on the right side, but the top to bottom is really good. I think this is probably the prettiest Mickey Mantle card there is, in my opinion. I know everybody likes the 51 and the 52, but I think if you didn't know anything about these and you just judged it by appearance, to me that is the prettiest card. Look at that beauty. So there we go. That is number 25. Moving into number 24. We're coming back to candy cards again with the E90-1 American Caramel. And we've got Mr. Napoleon Lashway again. I told you I had 5. What is this? I think this is number... Is this number 2 or number 3 on the list? I can't remember. But anyway, here we go. It's a number 3. I got this through an auction. I can't remember if it was Robert Edwards or which one it was. The centering is not that great, but there are so few of these cards. I love Napoleon Lashway. The again, you're gonna hear me say this a million times, but the color, the registration, the accuracy, the pop. And this isn't a card you see a whole lot. There are so few of these. So I had to get it. Great, 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 great card. And honestly, let me look at it before I say this. If this was a 3-5 or a 4, it wouldn't surprise me at all. So that's a really solid 3. Very happy with that, coming in at number 24. Number 23, we're going back to the 1953 set again. This is probably the second most valuable card in that set after the Mantle card from memory. And it's, you know, in a lot of people's opinions, a lot of collectors' opinions, it is the prettiest looking Mays card out there. I love Willie Mays, and I am a subscriber to the fact that he was the best overall player ever. Not to do roids. And I think he's a great, great player to collect. Super fun. Lots of color on this one. It looks like somebody literally sat down with a paintbrush and painted this card. And so when I saw this one come up, the centering is pretty good. Not a lot of snow. You've got a little bit down by his socks. I guess in the center of the card you got a little bit, but in his face you don't have any. Beautiful, beautiful card for a 2. And then there's the back. Pretty cool, man. Dig that card. Dig that card. Now, he was born in 31, meaning he was 22 years old here. Now, obviously, that's not a photo, but just kind of cool to think of old man Willie Mays being 22 years old back then. So here comes number 22. And I think this is the last football card on the list. Honestly, I think this is the last non-baseball card on the list. I'm a huge Colts fan, big Peyton Manning fan. So to go back and get the best non-Peyton Manning Colt probably ever is pretty dang cool. This is another card that's really challenging to get centered. You can see it's a little fatter towards the top of the label. It's a little fatter on the bottom edge here, but it's probably 60-40 or 65-35 on both sides. And there's virtually no snow. The colors are vivid. I did a lot of shopping to look for a sharp 6, and this was about the sharpest 6 that I found. I did some pretty good shopping, and I do think I overpaid for it, but great 6 that I'm probably never gonna get rid of. Good looking card. And then there's the back, such an iconic set. I've got a PSA 6 of Horning, too, Paul Horning. And then I've also, no, I do not have a Bart Starr. I would like a Bart Starr, but it's crazy to think that all 3 of those rookies came out of the 1957 set. So that's 5, 4, 3, 2. This is 21. It is the only T204 Ramley card I've ever owned. Probably, there's one word that comes to mind whenever I see this set, and it's ornate. This set is absolutely ornate. Now, it just so happens I got a card I'm selling. This is not part of my top 50, but it's a T206 portrait. It looks like the same doggone photo, same smile, same hair part, same everything. So it's kind of cool just to take a look at that. But yeah, really cool looking card. One of the most, if not the most, coveted cards for me, because my favorite player is Walter Johnson, and this is the set that his most infamous card comes from. I've never seen it, I've never owned it, I've only seen it for sale on Facebook and eBay and stuff like that, but I had to get one because I think it's pretty cool. And if you look at the back too, let's look at the front close up a little bit, and there are not a lot of these. From memory, I want to say there were 30-40 some of this graded by PSA. So really cool, beautiful card. And it's got a textured back. So if you ran your finger across it, you would see the texture, you would feel the texture. So pretty cool. Anyway, that one is coming in at number 21. Moving up to number 20. Before we look at the front, I'm gonna show you the back again. I told you that old mills are a little bit rare. They're a little bit more desirable. You can see in that bottom left corner, we've got a little bit of a crease. It's certainly not anywhere near centered, but moving it around, we've got another wonderful Napoleon Lashway. Now, I've got a portrait of his, and that's my favorite Nap Lashway, what would I say? Like the way it's presented, right? The photo or the picture, whatever you want to call it. But I do think this one's the prettiest, right? Again, with that sunset in the back and just his stark image looking into the camera. It's a really beautiful card. The left to right centering is almost perfect, maybe 55-45, a little bit fatter on the left. The top to right is perfect, but that old mill back is what makes this card just everything it is, right? Moving on to number 19 is my newest addition. Beautiful card. The 1909 E102 set. There's only 25 players in this set from memory. I want to say 10 of the 25 are Hall of Famers. I do think they've got Cobb, they've got Wagner, Matthewson, all in this set. And this was a 5.5. I think there are only 20 or 30 of this card in existence graded by PSA. So this is a pretty rare card as well. A lot of these, oh my God, look at that. A lot of these candy cards are really rare, but yes, this is just a stunner of a card, my gosh. And then there's the back, right? You can see the 25 players. Yep, Cobb on top. There's my guy Lashway, the sixth one down. Second column there, you've got Wagner on top. Matthewson is the sixth one down in that column. And I don't think any of the five on the bottom are Hall of Famers, but again, just a beautiful card. And you can see PWCC got me again. Yep, I love them, man. I'll take those qualifiers. They're pretty cool. So what is that, 19? We're going to stick with 19. I don't know. I'm making it up at this point. Here's number 18. This is another one I shopped for a while. Again, I wanted a card that had really good color, really good pop, really good centering. You can see the border all around is almost perfectly centered. I honestly have no clue how this is a 4.5. All of these corners could pass for a 5 or a 6. I don't see any creases. This is a stunner of a card. Probably the best left-handed pitcher ever. Had the best 6-year span of pitching out of any pitcher ever. Just had a short career, man. Look at that back. That's incredible as well. Gorgeous card, man. So there we go. I think that's number 18. Here we go with 17. Going back to the 54 set. This is a really big set in collecting too, because it's got the Hank Aaron rookie, the Ernie Banks, and then you've got Al Kaline in there. This one too, the two big issues are the left to right centering, which you can't really see well because it's a white card with white borders. But if you look on the bottom, you can see the pink here and the pink here. This is pretty well centered. I'm also looking to see that we don't have a lot of snow. You can see a little bit above his eyebrow there. You can see a little bit in his neck. But if you compare this to a lot of other cards, especially 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, even 6s will have a good amount of snow. This one has almost none. So that's what made me get this one. I was pretty happy to get it. This is another one I'd have a tough time ever getting rid of, because even if I got a 4, 5, 6, I'd have to find one with no snow, centered, and that's going to be a challenge. So cool card coming in at probably 17. All right, here's another Nap Lashway. I think this is the 4th of 5. And yeah, so here we go. This is a smoking too, man. The centering is really good. The borders are really good. The color's really good. Really the only issue with the card is the rounded corners. Otherwise, this is probably the best 2 I've ever seen. Very, very happy with this card. And then on the back, you've got, yeah, you know, who knows if they were taping it to something or what that is, where the word sweet is on top, but that's probably a big part of what's holding it back. So cool card coming in at number 16. Moving up to 15, we've got one of the coolest, most iconic cards in old school collecting, the T205 gold border Christy Matthewson. One of the first 5 Hall of Famers in baseball, along with Walter Johnson, my favorite player, Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner. So really a cool card, a 1.5. And I don't see any major issues for a grade like that. It's got some creases to the left of the G and Giants up top. The corners are horrendous, but the centering is good. The photo's good, the pop is good. The registration on this is off and off, but this one looks really good. And then the back is a Piedmont cigarette back. You can see down where the stats are, 1908, 1909, 1910. You can see some of that staining. It's pretty dang cool, man. So that one, I think, is number 16. Here we've got my top Jackie Robinson card. This is the 1950 set with his rookie being a 1949. I'm sorry, 48. He's got that Leaf set. He does not have a 48 Bowman card, but he does have a Leaf card, and that is considerably more valuable than this one. He's also got a 49 Bowman that's considerably, I can't even say the word, considerably more valuable than this one, and even his 52 Topps is considerably more valuable than this one. But I think this one really has a stunning pose to it. It's just cool. It kind of reminds me of that 1933 Gowdy Babe Ruth number 144, where he's sitting in the middle of the field and he's just taking that big swing. It's just a cool looking card with a ton of color. You've got the yellow-brown sand on the bottom, the green grass, the purple up here, and then his blue and white jersey really pops. Great centering, quite a bit of snow. You can see some creases, but it was a 1.5, so I had to pick it up. And there's the back. But yeah, just a cool card, man. Cool card. Number 15, again, I think. I'm not committing. Okay, so this card, I used to stick these to my top 50 case, and this was number 1 for a while. So I'm gonna have to peel that off at some point. But again, we got a nice old mill back. This is a 1.5. Pretty amazing back. Nice centering, clarity, all that good stuff for a 1.5. And then again, you've got my favorite player, Mr. Walter Johnson. Not a card I probably would have purchased if it didn't have an old mill back. It's got a lot of staining, the centering's not good, but the fact that it was my favorite player, the photo itself, the color, all that stuff is really good, and it's got that nice, unique back, made me get it. So there it is, coming in at probably number 14. No, I want to say this is number 12. Let's pretend this is number 12. Here's my last Napoleon Lashway. This is from the 1915 Cracker Jack set. There's 2 Cracker Jack sets, 1914, 1915. 1914 you could only get in the box, so it's a little bit tougher to find those in really good condition. But the 1915 set, you can find them in the box, or you could send in and get the whole set sent to you. This one looks pretty good on the front. It's got some, so you can see it's upside down, right? You got to actually flip it around. It's got some staining at the bottom, which makes me think this one was out of the box. But man, that's one hell of a front for a card that roughly 105 years ago was sitting inside of a Cracker Jack box, probably at a baseball game. So just a real cool card. It's got that absolutely iconic red back with whatever font that is for the word Cracker Jack. And again, it's one of my favorite players to collect, Napoleon Lashway. So a cool card, coming in with a 2.5 grade. Here's number 11. Again, one of the most iconic cards. Well, that's pretty much the rest of these. The 1939 play ball, Joe Dimaggio. He does have his rookie card. Well, it's all arguable, but a lot of people would consider either this or his 1938 Gowdy card to be his rookie card. I don't like his rookie card at all. The 1938 Gowdy is a cartoon. It just kind of looks goofy to me. Not a fan of it. I do like this one. Again, I think that word stoic comes to mind. It's iconic. It looks great. The centering was smoking. No major issues. We do have, like, that bottom left corner is a little dinged up. But other than that, no real flaws in the photo. You've got a little bit of like lightness or whiteness here to the left a little bit, but it doesn't really impact him. And I've got, I don't know what this whiteness is up here. It's almost like a bleach. I don't know if that's what's holding it back, but I mean, this is a 3. I'm not arguing it's a 3, 5, or a 4 or anything like that. But it's just a cool card, man, coming in at number 11. Coming in at number 11. Okay, number 10. We're getting to the top 10 finally. Here we're going back to the T205 set. I think this is the only Cy Young card that I own. If you know anything about baseball, you know that Cy Young is who the Cy Young Award winner is named after, the award, not the award winner. And he's got literally every record in pitching, and because of the way pitching was back then versus now, those records will almost assuredly never be beaten. And just a cool card of his, tons of color. And this one, what is this, a 2? I used to have a 1.5, and I saw this one come up. My 1.5 had horrendous left to right centering, so when I saw this one, I instantly sold it and pulled the trigger on this. This one also has a sovereign back, which I like. So yeah, there it is. Boom. Number 10, baby. Moving into number 9. This is my other pre-1900 card. I can't remember if it's 1887 or 1888, But we've got the Allen and Ginter set, the N28 set. From memory, I think there's only 3 Baseball Hall of Famers in that set. It's Mike King Kelly, Cap Anson, and is it Tim Keefe? I think it's Tim Keefe. And I just think this card by far is the coolest. And it literally has everything to do with that mustache, man. That is a badass mustache. So it's pretty cool. The big red Boston across his chest really pops. Just an awesome card. And this sucker, let's say it's 88, right? That's 12, that's 112, 113, 133 years old if my math is right. And you can see you've got baseball players, oarsmen, wrestlers, pugilists, rifle shooters, billiard players, and 1 pool player down there. 2 pool players. But just a cool set. Iconic. They've made current sets based off the look of this set. So just, again, monster card, cool card. Coming in at number, I believe, 8 again is my favorite player, Mr. Walter Johnson. If you've never gone on YouTube and seen the Walter Johnson, I don't want to say it's a documentary, but it talks about his last World Series game, and it really caps off what is an amazing career. He had never won a World Series, and he finally went and he pitched 3 games, and it was like literally every fairy tale you've ever listened to about baseball. It ended perfectly. So it's really cool. This came up in an auction. I want to say it was an REA auction. It's a 1.5. It's got a big crease left to right through his nose, but from afar you really can't see it. And if it didn't have that, I would say this is a good 2.5, maybe a 3. It's a pretty strong card, lots of color, good registration. A lot of times you'll lose the registration on these T205s, but this one's pretty good. And then coming back here, you've got a lot of staining. But again, my favorite players, so we had to get them. Moving up, we've got another Old Mill back. I can't quit those Old Mill backs, baby. Not that I care about the centering on the back, but it's got good centering. And there it is, probably my favorite Matthewson of the T206 set. Cool card, man. The left to right centering is perfect. Top to bottom centering is perfect. It's got that really bold, beautiful, it almost looks like somebody took a marker to it, color, with his hat popping off that blue. It's like he's got a blue halo. It's a little bit darker, closer to his head and cap than it is the sky. You get that really bright green grass. Just an awesome card, man. So there we go. How many do we have left? 6, so that was number 7. This was a big card that I looked for a long time. And I looked for it so hard that I can remember there were 192 PSA graded in existence. This is a PSA 2, which I'm telling you, compare it to a 3, compare it to a 4. In my opinion, this is better than that. I think it's pretty doggone awesome, but that's if you're looking at it like this. If I bring it up closer, you can see there are 2 major creases. One running right here across his waist, and the other one, well, I can't find the other one. That's how weak it is, but man, is that a cool looking card. Cool looking card. Really tough to find in higher grades because it was sitting inside of those hot dog packages. Again, PWCC got me with their qualifier, so all you guys complaining about the fact that they do it and people buy into it, I am the problem. I'm the problem. So there it is, one of my favorite cards. There's no way this card's ever leaving my collection, man. Awesome card. So there it is, number 6. Moving to the top 5. Man, it's crazy to think this is number 5. The 54 Topps Hank Aaron. I don't know how this is a PSA 2. This looks like a really poor 4 just because of corners, or maybe a 3.5. Yes, the centering is horrendous. It's a 90-10 fat on the left, which does drive me nuts, but the color, the registration is just stunning. Look at that. Oof. Beautiful card. So that's a pretty cool one. So that's another one I had. I want to say it was a 1, and it was a pretty good one, but I ended up getting rid of it. I can see a little crease run right there. Do I see it on this side? I don't see anything. So yeah, just a beautiful card at number 5. Coming in at number 4, we've got my man again, Mr. Walter Johnson. This is my last Walter Johnson. And probably his prettiest card. Yes, I would rather have the T204 Ramley, but as far as beauty goes, this is the prettiest doggone card out there, man. Just a stoic photo, that bold yellow background, iconic. Everybody knows this card. My favorite player, it's a 3, which for me is a little bit higher graded, especially for these higher end cards. I honestly have no clue what the back looks like because I don't ever look at it. Who cares about the back? Nobody cares about the back. Look at that front. That is a good looking card, man. So pretty cool. They're coming in at number 4. Moving up to number 3. Oh, how many of these did they get me on? PWCC got me on 2 of my last 3. So here's one of them. And from memory, I want to say there's like 19 of these. There are not a lot. The E106 are very rare. I also like the Matthewson card. It's a vertical card, or I'm sorry, a horizontal card in this set also. But I really like this one because the centering is pretty good. It's got a lot of color. It's a Honus Wagner. It's rare. And it's a 1.5 because it's got a little T crease right there and right there. But the crease really doesn't take away a lot if you pull it away a little bit. And for a 1.5 price, I will absolutely take it. This card is one of a set of 48 leading baseball players in the National, American, and Federal Leagues. One card is given with every piece of baseball caramel manufactured by the American Caramel Company. That is pretty doggone cool. And there it is. Yes, PWCC got me. So cool little card there. Mr. Honus Wagner, again, one of the top, or I shouldn't say the top, the first 5 Hall of Famers. My ever coveted PSA 1, Mr. Ty Cobb in a green, right? This is 1909 because we got the Piedmont 150 back. It's got that nice new label on it. Really a great card. We've got some creases, but just a great, great, great one. Pretty doggone cool, huh? Nobody cares about the back. There's the front. So it's pretty awesome. It's fun, just like I'm looking through my phone video camera right now and just looking at this card is just cool. All right, coming up to number 1, this is it. I don't have any drums or anything for a drum roll, but there it is, my favorite card. Mr. Babe Ruth. Probably the funnest player to collect in baseball, the most well-known. Left to right centering is probably 55-45, a little fatter on the left. It's got the color, it's got the pose, it's got the player, it's got the age. It is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome card. Love this card. I don't know how this is a 2. I did think that this little mark down here was like a divot or something, but it's ink. So we do have a little ink there. We got a little snow on his face. But other than that, we got some creases here in the bottom right corner. Honestly, you kind of forget about them until you move it closer. Well, I do. Again, everybody thinks their cards are better than they are, so you guys are probably rolling your eyes back home. You can see that crease on the back pretty distinctly. But man, look at that sucker. Beautiful card at number 1. Well, guys, I really appreciate you sticking around with me. Holy smokes, almost an hour. I really appreciate it. Again, if you guys share any of these videos, certainly let me know. Go find me on Facebook, share it with me. I'd love to watch it. You guys have a great night.